What is LatentView Analytics and what does it do?
Any decisions that you want to use data and insights instead of gut, you would use a firm like LatentView if you don't have the capability to do that in-house.
LatentView Analytics made a significant impact with its IPO.
This is a data analytics company, and this industry is expected to grow at 18% to 333 billion by 2024.
How has this market debut influenced the company's growth trajectory and, say, the strategic initiatives?
I think fundamentally we have not changed too much. We are close to the market and the clients, and we understand it, and we are taking some calls on that. We continue to do the same in terms of this. Now, the IPO has given us the ability to flex muscles on this, to make more investments, to be able to be a bit more bolder.
What led to that decision behind Chennai being selected as the headquarters?
The talent, that base in terms of math and tech talent, Chennai has is equivalent or even better than Bangalore. Culturally also, Chennai is a place where people like to stay and not migrate too much.
The youngsters who are working in the industries in Chennai, many of them are growing and working there itself. A lot of people stay there and work there and grow there.
10 to 12 years back, on a family day function, had got his cousin, who was 7 years old, to the office for the family day function. Is now with LatentView. He joined as an analyst. I don't know whether you'll have even a case like that in Infosys.
Krishnan, a very, very warm welcome, a very good evening. Lovely to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely, our pleasure. You know, there's loads that we want to talk about. Very, very interesting, very path-breaking work that you all are doing at LatentView. Do you think now finally IT service firms will start building their own sovereign AI models to differentiate themselves?
So it remains to be seen what this all means to folks, because I think at the end of the day, it's a great point that you bring out, which it's a great question, because earlier we thought that we would not want to build sovereign AI models, or you will have some of these bigger companies build this and you will build things on top of it. In fact, even companies like Perplexity said they will not build these foundational models. They'll rely on this, right? So I was listening to Arvind and he said this as well. And now, if this is the cost at which you're building foundational models, there are two opportunities that are there. One opportunity is a lot of firms will want to build their own foundational models. So it's a huge opportunity for IT services firms, analytics services firms, because it's extremely important to have talent which is trained and able to do this, right? So that's one big opportunity. Second is you can build foundational models and take it to the market as well, right? There are a lot of things. You are creating certain platforms and solutions. So it's a great opportunity to do that. It really depends on the strategy of the firm, whether you want to do the former, which is help build foundational models or sovereign AI models, as you call it, for clients who are looking to build it themselves, or you create your own sovereign AI models on this one and package that as a solution for clients. And it really also depends on what clients would like to adopt, because that will determine. But the thing is, we are now talking about sovereign AI models, and that's the big disruption that we have seen. Yeah, sure.
But let's talk a little about LatentView.
Sure.
When it comes to our target audience, our viewers, when we told on our social platforms that we'll be doing a podcast with you, a lot of the viewers are very excited. A lot of them already know about the work that goes on at LatentView. But there's still a fair amount of people, even you might agree, who might not know what LatentView does. So for those who don't know, if one has to ask you to describe what is LatentView Analytics and what does it do?
So we are an analytics consulting firm. A lot of firms have data. There's internal data and external data, and we help firms analyze this data and provide insights to power decisions. So any decisions that you want to use data and insights instead of gut, you would use a firm like LatentView if you don't have the capability to do that in-house. And that's what we do.
Krishnan, you've worked with C-suites across industries. You yourself have been one in different roles for nearly a decade now. What's a defining leadership moment that shaped your approach when it comes towards AI and analytics-driven strategy?
So I think one thing that really changed for me is in the initial time when I used to work with C-suites, I used to think that the C-suite audience really knows what they're doing. They're very clear, and we need to just execute to the vision that they had. And this was something that was there, which is you are an execution partner and be a very good execution partner to them. But what really changed for me was the C-suite is also open to ideas. They are actually looking at people coming in to challenge them, and that improves them as well, right? So they are looking at people to actually bring ideas, brainstorm with them, challenge this. Actually, and the US is very open about it. They ask you to be a bit open. And we come from a culture where we are told to just follow the rules and not really ask too many questions. But there they encourage you to ask questions and be open about it. And that was the big learning for me, is that the C-suite is very openly will say that, guys, we really are looking for advice and your suggestions and your inputs, because you're working with so many other clients as well, right? So bring in the best practices, challenge us and tell us this, etc. And that's the defining part, which is they are looking for a person to be a partner to them rather than sit and just be an execution part. And that in the last decade or so has really helped me in interactions, in building relationships, and also winning business for that matter.
LatentView Analytics made a significant impact with its IPO, major impact. You all achieved a record subscription rate of 326.5 times and listing at a 169% premium over its issuing price. How has this market debut influenced the company's growth trajectory and, say, the strategic initiatives?
I think fundamentally we have not changed too much. And I think and that's very interesting, because prior to the IPO also, we were a very financially prudent company in terms of how we ran the business. We had quarterly targets, annual targets that were there, and we were running the business. So I would say it's actually business as usual. We expected a lot of people to think that we'll have to change the way we work and it'll challenge. It didn't have to be. The second thing we said is we will stay true to our course and not be influenced by the external world, in terms of the external world telling us what to do. We have done reasonably well in 50, and that's why the market has been happy with us. We knew what we were doing. We are close to the market and the clients, and we understand it, and we are taking some calls on that. We continue to do the same in terms of this. Now, the IPO has given us the ability to flex muscles on this, to make more investments, to be able to be a bit more bolder. And I think that's the thing that we have to learn, and we are trading off in terms of how much bolder can we get. So we did start making some more investments to maintain the trajectory and maybe even fuel the trajectory. But we do not want to go into a place of like explosive growth. We are a services company. We are running a marathon. We are not running a sprint. And that's what my founder goes with. And that's the culture and philosophy that we want to live with. And we don't want to change the cultural fabric of the company. And that's been the case with us as well, in terms of, even though we have got money, we'll not just spend money because we have got it. We'll have to create a good case. We still need to be operationally profitable, and we continue to be.
Considering the dynamics of the AI and analytics industry, what are your perspectives on, say, the advantages and challenges of going public versus remaining privately held?
I think once you go public, there's obviously a brand recognition that is there. And the biggest benefit of the brand recognition is in attracting talent. More than attracting clients, because we went public in the Indian market, so it did not help us as much as we would expect in the other markets and developed markets, and that was not the reason. We had other reasons, but talent recognition is extremely good. We are able to attract strong talent that is able to come, and that's a big differentiator, because at the end of the day, this is a place where you need to nurture, manage, and grow talent and create that platform for it, and this helps us do that very well.
With the ever-increasing demand for AI-driven solutions, what are some of the specific requirements and trends that you are observing from clients across various sectors?
I think clients are getting more and more open to learning about what's happening outside in other industries. They are trying to come back to us a bit more, and with AI being such a fast-moving field, and they also realize that all the domain understanding that they had for decades and decades of running is getting transformed right now, and from a technology perspective, right? And as a result, they are becoming a lot more open to learning from this. So we do a lot of workshops around looking at use cases where we are implementing Gen AI across other clients, right? Second thing I'm seeing is there people want to do this. They like this fail fast, learn fast approach, where they're saying we'll do rapid prototyping and POCs. And try to understand and learn and do change management and trying to find. So you may build a great Gen AI solution, right? But it needs to be adopted in the organization to influence the process. And I think they are increasingly open to doing these quick POCs to actually see how we can actually apply them. And that I'm seeing across sectors.
And tell me, how is LatentView adapting its services to meet these ever-evolving needs and demands?
So we have actually have to stay ahead of the curve. Right now, we are very open with clients. We are investing with clients also. In some cases, we say that, hey, and we are very open with clients in a lot of cases, saying that if we have not done something, or if we feel that this is something that we are ready to invest along with the client. So we co-invest in some of these cases. Second is, we also are training our teams proactively. We are investing in platforms and we are investing in training proactively for our associates before even clients are asking for this on newer technologies and even foundational data technologies, but also AI technologies. And that really helps them because they are sitting close to the client and they are working on business problems, and they are able to then identify opportunities where AI could be there. And that's really the way we are trying to do this, which is by empowering our people with training and also co-investing with clients.
Despite economic uncertainties, LatentView has grown 1.5 times since financial year 2022, 76% revenue from long-term clients in the latest quarter. What's driving this resilience, would you say? And how do you sustain these long-term client partnerships?
Right. So I think for us, the mantra was fairly simple very early. We said that we will work with the world's most recognized brands. We'll work with the biggest firms because they need analytics, and they will want to work with firms. They will have enough exciting work for firms like us. And as the industry has evolved, our engagements with them also have evolved, right? But we have stayed on course with them. And so much so that the engagements that we signed 15 years back still remain. The content of that work has changed dramatically in terms of what we are doing for them, but they still need a lot of the work through partners like us. In fact, we know the data and systems so much. So when you work with fairly large brands that can go through multiple, I would say, economic cycles and grow through them, etc., you are able to also grow along with them, and there is some stability to that. And I think that was the mantra. And in fact, our founder was very keen to make sure that we only stick to that, because there is a lot of times you think about, hey, let's work with smaller firms, it's easier to work with them, etc. But then they some of them close down very quickly and you start losing business. That solid base of clients really helped us. And because we had a solid base of renowned brands, you can now win engagements with other renowned brands. So if you go and tell that, hey, I'm working with a Microsoft, other tech firms will understand that, hey, there must be something good about them, right? Even if it's a small firm that's based out of Chennai, right? That actually helped our positioning really well with a lot of, and so we work with a lot of technology firms, and in every sector we work with brands which are the top in their league. Yeah, and that's really helped us. Yeah,
You all went against the norm and formed the Indian headquarter in Chennai. The question I want to ask you is, what led to that decision behind Chennai being selected as the headquarters?
it's a founder question, but I think the founders, one of the founders or two of the founders actually came from Cognizant, and Cognizant also went against the grain, if you think about it, and set up the IT headquarters in Chennai as compared to Bangalore, where the Infosys, Wipro, etc. were there. And actually, Chennai as a talent destination was largely untapped in a lot of cases as compared to Bangalore. Definitely, traffic is a big reason, but I would say that's more on the humorous side. But I think the talent, that base in terms of math and tech talent, Chennai is equivalent or even better than Bangalore. Second is international airport, US consulate. This was a big thing. And there were also big hubs like Ford, manufacturing, big manufacturing. It's a big manufacturing hub. And that was a big reason. Culturally also, Chennai is a place where people like to stay and not migrate too much. Places like Hyderabad and Bangalore have what we call the migrant kind of population, the Cosmo crowd, where people just keep moving around. Not as much in Chennai. Chennai people like to stick around. And so we found that extremely beneficial from an attrition perspective and maintaining, nurturing, and managing talent. That was one of the reasons that it also helped that the three of the founders were from Chennai. So and they were from IIT Madras, and they wanted to be. And so we actually have set up offices right next to IIT Madras. We share a wall with them. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. That was actually a very interesting insight, which actually does make a lot of sense now that the youngsters who are working in the industries in Chennai, many of them are growing and working there itself, not the amount of people that move out of cities like the amount of crisscross that keeps happening between Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore, Chennai doesn't fall in that category. A lot of people stay there and work there and grow there.
You'll be surprised. One of the associates that we had about 10 to 12 years back on a family day function had got his cousin, who was 7 years old, to the office for the family day function. So it was bring your kids to work or bring your relatives to work. That kid has now joined LatentView from that family day.
Wow.
So we have actually, he's still there, and his nephew that he had brought in, who was a 5 or 7 year old boy, is now with LatentView. He joined as an analyst as well. So it's very interesting that that is there. So that's the kind of culture that is there. So I don't know whether you'll have even a case like that in Infosys. In fact, you may find it the inverse way, where they will say, hey, I don't want to work where my uncle has been working. That's the kind of structure that will be there. Yeah.
Crazy talent scouting. I mean, do you guys bring your kid to work day for talent scouting like this?
I don't think, but now maybe we should try that. we never knew this. Actually, only when he posted it on the workplace did I know that this happened. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Amazing. India's GCCs now drive innovation rather than just thinking about cost efficiency. What key factors do you think have enabled this shift? And how do you see AI accelerating this transformation even more?
So I think GCCs is a very interesting story. And I think that's post-COVID. That's just been that catalyst to actually make remote working big, and GCCs have just become in prominence. I think two big things, which is one, the inflation changed the game, saying that costs became extremely high. Second is the availability of talent in India became a big factor. What we also notice is when I started in this industry about 25 years back, in fact, prior to that, the first things that were outsourced into GCCs were actually, it was a back office. People looked at it as, it was mostly back office processes that were outsourced. Then the wave of the TCS, the Infosys and Wipro came, where IT technology started being outsourced. It's technology and systems outsourcing happened. Then the wave of firms like LatentView came in, where there's knowledge process outsourcing that came in. And what I also noticed was, having worked in the process outsourcing and IT systems outsourcing, there was a lot of cost arbitrage that used to be the case. Whereas now it has moved to talent arbitrage. The reason people are setting up centers in India is not for the cost advantages. That's a good thing to have, but it's actually about the availability of talent. There's a significant, I would say, deficit of math and STEM talent in developed countries, or there is more demand than supply that is there. And that's a great place. I mean, we have significantly large, our population is fairly large. We have got significant high number of engineering graduates, math graduates that are there. And that's a big boon for a lot of these companies. And so I think they're looking to tap into this talent to actually power some of the newest and the latest. The other thing is, a lot of things we are seeing now is becoming more and more open source, right? And so you don't need to be in a certain country, and cloud computing made this possible. You don't need to be sitting in US to actually do innovation. You can be sitting based out of India as well. And that's helped. So you have got now talent, and you have democratized a lot of and open sourced a lot of the AI kind of technologies. And they are looking at saying that this is a great place where I can then set up centers. And so we are seeing this from being capability centers now to innovation centers.
GCCs are moving way beyond just cost-saving models. Now they're focusing on quality, innovation, industry-specific AI solutions. How do organizations strike this right balance between, say, cost efficiency and high-value AI investments?
I think you just almost said the answer in your question. What AI or what people need to do is look at those low-hanging fruits where they are able to demonstrate value. So the first big issue that I find with a lot of times when we go with clients is, they feel that there is a lot of this buzz, and is this a fad, or is this too much of buzz, and is there less reality to this, right? So I think the big thing is to not use AI for AI's sake, but to start going with business solutions or use case-based approach, saying, let's look at use cases where we can apply this. Then second is to look at low-hanging fruit where you can really improve the operational efficiency, right? So unlock value. So if there was something that needed X amount of dollars, and you can now do it with a fraction of that X dollars to do the same thing, you're unlocking value, or you're unlocking those dollars. Now that you've unlocked a bit of this dollars and proven this value, you can now take this and fuel innovation. So I think that the ability to do this is actually kind of unlock dollars from some of those cost saving initiatives that you can do, improving operational efficiency, and then create the case for saying let's invest into pilots and do certain things which are much more innovation driven or top line driven. If you try to do this only top line driven, you typically are asking the businesses to invest over and beyond what they've already invested in other things, and that's typically a problem. So you need to balance them basically.
Okay, the Indian government recently announced a bold AI vision, impaneling 18,693 GPUs, launching a call for proposals to develop indigenous foundational models trained on Indian datasets. And it's also fast-tracking AI innovation with a mission-driven approach to build world-class models within just 4 to 8 months. All of this is being done to ensure India's leadership in the AI revolution. What is your take on this?
No, actually, I'm happy that the Indian government did this because a lot of people were talking about US and China in this. And I was also, the moment I heard about DeepSeek in the US and China, I was, and I remember my daughter and son also talking about it. I felt that why are people not talking about India? Because we have the talent. We have also lived frugally, so we know how to innovate in that. And I'm glad that this has happened because I think there is definitely a possibility. And it's all open source right now. Like the beauty of this is it's been democratized. A lot of this is available open source, and China just showed, or DeepSeek just showed, that you can do it with even not as higher technology, but being smart about it, right? And that's something that I think with our talent, we should be able to use it. And I think it's a great initiative by the government to actually start it. We need to start. It's great to start the initiative, but then we need to back it with this. And I'm sure people will use it, as we have seen with a lot of the newer schemes. I think it's going to be a very, very important few months for us, for sure.
Absolutely. This is the second time that you mentioned the frugal nature that we inherently Indians have within ourselves. I'm going to give an example of a discussion that I had with Mr. Dr. S. Somnath. He is the chief of ISRO. It was a podcast that I was shooting with him. And I asked him a question that ISRO is famous for the very frugal missions that it is able to execute, like world-renowned missions, but at the fraction of a cost of the budget. And he said it kind of stems back to the upbringing that we Indians have had, where the mothers and fathers and the grandparents teach us, don't waste food, share, make sure wastage doesn't happen. And it comes from there. Do you think that the reason why India's startup ecosystem currently is the third biggest in the world, this kind of mentality has a role to play in that, where the entrepreneurs know how to make it big, keeping that frugal nature?
Absolutely. I mean, LatentView is a testament to that as well, right? And I think that is extremely important, right? It's easy to get a lot of money and
go bonkers
or completely spend it off. I think it's important to be able to realize, stay frugal, learn to see how to make money, and then grow from there, right? And I think that frugality does help us. So if we know that we are only going to get this much, we ensure that we stay in the limits. It can be a limitation. So the good thing that's happening also is that we are now getting access to funds. So if you're able to balance that frugality, but also being able to also take some few bold steps, we can do really well. And I think it's just a matter of time that we will learn both, right? But I think that's a foundationally big. I think the ISRO part is kind of what DeepSeek is, right? If you think about it, they did it at a fraction of the cost. That's what ISRO has done. So why can't India do it on the AI scene as well?
How does LatentView help enterprises move from, say, static reports to real-time AI-driven decision-making?
So we have been working a lot with clients. In fact, prior to even ChatGPT, etc. coming, we used to build conversational layers on top of dashboards for adoption. Because we found that a lot of people do not want to go to a bulky dashboard, go through tabs, take filters, etc. They just want to ask questions. They're much happier doing the Google of the dashboard, right? Or Googling the dashboard. And that's what we found. But now we are seeing that a lot of our investment is to do that, creating those decision analysis frameworks. And we call them creating decision boards for clients. We no more say creating dashboards for them. And we have gone through this entire journey where we've manually updated reports to now we are building places where we are building this conversational interface for clients to interact with their data. In fact, one of the products that my firm has, which is Beagle, we just acquired this firm Decision Point, and they have this product, which is a conversational interface for consumer goods firms. And we have many such versions. We have it for B2B firms, etc. And that's basically what we are doing. So we are in the forefront of really transforming the BI within organizations.
With the 3,325 million INR acquisition of Decision Point, LatentView is quite literally doubling down on AI-driven business transformation, both in retail and CPG as well. What synergies does this bring, and how does it strengthen your market position?
Yeah, I think it was a very thoughtful decision that we took. First of all, during the IPO, we said that we want to invest in a few domains, and we already had seen the shift in 2019 that we wanted to be from a pure play analytics consulting firm. We started verticalizing ourselves. And then we wanted to choose a few verticals where we'll go deeper. And consumer was one space where we said consumer goods industry, or the retail and CPG space, we found is kind of ripe for that kind of thing. So when we looked at Decision Point, there were two things that, or rather three things that actually worked for us. The first was we had solutions on the innovation and supply chain space. They had solutions in the revenue growth management space, which is a very different thing. So there is now, we can cross-pollinate this in both ways, right? So they are working with revenue growth management areas in some clients. We can sell innovation and supply chain, and vice versa. In our clients, we could sell revenue growth management, which is a big thing. So that's great synergy on that in terms of the capability side. They also had a significant LATAM presence and LATAM nearshore capability. So in addition to having onshore and offshore capabilities, we now have also bolstered our nearshore capabilities, which is a differentiator. So if there are clients who want to work in the same time zone, but do not want to pay the price of person locally, they have the nearshore option, or they have the offshore option if they are open to that, but at a lesser cost. And that helps you truly have a global delivery model. And we found the Decision Point had that capability, and we could really accelerate that. The third thing which was important is they had already worked with over a dozen clients and implemented Beagle, which is a generative AI solution that was contextually or domain context developed for the consumer goods industry. And what that does is they have gone through that learning cycle. And so now that learning in two ways. One is we can obviously use it for building AI solutions for consumer goods clients, but we can also take that learning on how they built it and use it for the other sectors that we are big in as well. So we found that these were three big reasons for it. It was a no-brainer for us from that perspective. It was a great acquisition from that.
With AI-led analytics now handling, say, unstructured data and generating actionable insights, how do you see AI transforming customer intelligence, risk management, and also say something like operational efficiency?
See, I think it's going to disrupt it. That's the simple answer to this. And what I mean by that is, in the past, a lot of these things that you talked about, like risk, operations, etc., you had to build solutions, you had to spend time building it, creating these analytical models, etc., and doing it. Now you have a place where you could have agents that could identify patterns, identify risks, and take actions proactively without a human being involved. That's fascinating. We used to have risk analysts where, in fact, with one of our clients, marketplaces clients that we work with, we were there analyzing and saying that these are risks that you have. So they used to manually change seller policies or buyer policies, etc. And then they used to go to the market with them and they used to test it. This entire thing can be taken over by an agent, which can see past fraud patterns. It's got tremendous access to, now you can have access to unstructured and structured data that is there, and then they can do it. And this is without the human, and that's possible. We have already got a solution in that risk and fraud space, but I'm saying that we will now add a Gen AI layer or an AI layer to make it more agentic. And I think that's the power that we are going to see in a lot of these places. So operational efficiency is going to be massive, and that's the big promise of AI. We need to do a lot of work to realize it, and I think that's where I think firms like LatentView can really help.
LatentView is targeting to double its revenue by financial year 2027 and 28. How do you plan to scale, say, AI-driven analytics across BFSI, retail, and CPG?
I think we talked about CPG with the acquisition of Decision Point, but I think what we are seeing is, one, we have a very strong set of clients which are extremely excited about this, and we are seeing a lot of interest among our client base as well as similar looking prospects in the industry. What we are looking to do is, one, we are verticalized and we are looking to build domain-specific AI solutions, which are addressing use cases within those domains. So it could be risk solutions, it could be consumer goods solutions, marketplace solutions, retail solutions, etc. within those things. The second thing that we are trying to do is also build what we call a foundational AI team, which will look to kind of challenge the current paradigm, so to say, like what DeepSeek tried to do, right? So keep abreast with the technology and keep reinventing and making sure that we are doing the foundation part of this. And that is cross entity. That is not necessarily dependent on the thing. The third thing we're trying to do is all our solutions are going to have, and we have already done that, is going to have a generative AI layer on top of this, right? So if we are building a solution which is, say, for example, in multi-supplier visibility, we are going to have a layer of generative AI on top of it so that people could converse with it. In fact, my CEO is going to the fact, in fact, we are in the planning sessions right now. He's saying that we will have an agentic AI component to all our solutions. So we not only are going to give you an insight, but we are now going to have an agentic AI solution which will say that insight will be taken, decision will be taken, and action also. All without a human, right? So the process will take over completely. And that's where we are going to invest in this. And this is going to be done in the ways that we just talked about. And it's fairly exciting. It's early stages, and hopefully we are going to learn through this process. But our policy is actually basically fail fast and learn fast. And hopefully we will have some wins. And we think this should be easily achievable if we are able to do that well.
What do you think has led to this the industrial shift that has happened, the tech boom that has happened, the startup culture boom that has happened in the last decade and a half?
I think it's basically the tapping of the talent that has happened. I think we did. You brought this whole point of telco. I started my career in telco, and interestingly, India short-circuited that as well. They did not have to build these big telecom switches, and then they were able to short-circuit that technology, and they got more advanced because they came late. They were able to get into newer technology than going into the older technology that a lot of the developed countries were there. So that was there. Similarly, on the financial side, right, this whole digital payments, it's a fantastic this one. I mean, I come and try to carry a wallet and cards and cash, etc. Nobody's carrying that here, right? It's just unbelievable. It took me a while to even get used to the kind of culture in terms of this, because India's leapfrogged the US definitely, but even in some cases with Europe. The third part of it is as a consumer economy, there is 1.5 billion people that are there here, right? Every corporation wants to tap into this, right? So there were things like, and we used to be very happy working with a Maruti or driving a Maruti Zen. Now every other person is driving a BMW or a Mercedes here. And I think that's the thing, right? The companies have realized there's a big buying power change that has happened. And they've also found the ability for this, the talent that is there. They've already seen this talent working in developed countries. There's no talent working here. And there's been a big inflow of funds and investment that has happened, like the Flipkarts of the world, etc. There's been a lot of investments. That said, I think we have also got to see some of these actually evolve. I think developed countries have managed to take some of this and actually grow and create lasting brands. We are in that early stage in which we will do that, but India will get there. I think it's in the next couple of decades we'll be a big powerhouse, if not the biggest powerhouse.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Quick question. You live in Seattle, right?
I do live in Seattle. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask. I'm sure you travel a lot in the United States as well.
Yes,
and you keep coming to India. Are digital payments used as much in the States the way digital payments and UPI is used in India?
No, not at all. As I said, I still use the credit card. We don't do digital payments much at all. I actually can say that for the unorganized retail that is there, and the complexity of retail and this one, and even P2P payments, I think India is far ahead in terms of what they have. In fact, I think Google Pay even shut down US based this one and still has it here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's that is something that US is way behind in terms of this. In fact, it only brought very recently some of the chip based technology, even after Europe and India for that matter. Yeah.
All right. Last question before we let you go. You mastered the art when it comes to your career at the start as an employee. Now, having been an industry leader for so many years as well, if one has to ask you 1 or 2 pieces of advice for a young Indian who is a tech enthusiast, wants to create something of his or her own for the country, take it to the world, what will your advice be?
I think the first thing is believe in yourself, because there are quite a few people who have done this, and so we should believe in ourselves. I think one of the biggest things that we lack is, I think, self-belief, and I think that's what I've seen in the US, which is people half as talented or this one just have the belief and they take it forward. The second thing is stay true to the course. Do not flinch from the course. Once you have had an idea, once you want to think, stay true to that. We anyway run frugally, so stay basic to that basic principle. Run frugally, stay the course for time, and if you put belief in yourself, magic can happen.
Absolutely, that's a great line actually. If you put believe in yourself, magic can happen. Amazing, loved it. Krishnan, it was such a delight to talk to you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much for traveling all the way from Chennai to here for this. How was the discussion? How was the chat for you?
It was great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this and appreciate the time that you guys gave me. Thank you.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Guys, do tell us in the comments, how did you enjoy this particular episode of Simulated Reality? I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know you all did too. Do not forget to subscribe to AIM Media House for more such discussions and content just like this. This is me, your friend Korak. I will see you in the next one.